The idea of retiring early has gained a lot of popularity lately. The FIRE movement basically is a cult following at this point, and it seems like all the influencers who sort of rise to the top are the ones who talk about how fast you can retire. It went from like 40 to 30, and I think now like the ultimate age to retire early is like 16 years old, something like that. So it seems like the earlier the better is the goal for this retire early movement that's going on. As somebody who's here not to sell you a course, not because I'm a financial planner and I want to get your business, but as somebody who actually retired early, I'm here to tell you guys all to take a breath, relax, chill out for a second, and don't go so fast. I'm going to tell you exactly why. Let's get into it right now.
Shut up and sit down.
Just in case we haven't met before, my name is Jeff. This is the Retire Mentality. I want to change your mentality about retirement. We talk about doing this through real estate investing, through retiring early. We talk about the FIRE movement. We talk about all these things, but just with a little bit different spin. I tell you guys how I did it and how you guys can just follow my footsteps if it's something that you want to achieve. If those are interesting things to you, you're in the right place. Please stick around. And I'm going to start off and just right off the bat, I think I'm going to offend maybe a couple of 20-year-olds with this first statement. The first problem with trying to retire when you're 20 or 30 or even into your early 40s and you're trying to set this plan into motion in your 20s or your 30s, the problem is 20-year-olds don't know jack yet. And to illustrate this point, I'll use a story about how stupid I was in my 20s with my first sort of goals of retiring early. If they would have had blogging and YouTube when I was in my 20s, like way back in the 1990s, I basically invented this retire early movement. I would have been Mr. Money Mustache. I got props and everything for this video, so give me a like down there. I came up with this idea to retire early before there was a name for it, before there was a cute marketing ploy called the FIRE movement. I was always trying to come up with ideas of how to not work, to be rich without working. I think that's sort of everyone's goal. I bought all the get rich programs that they had advertisements for. You used to have to buy them off of TV. Now there's plenty of YouTubers selling them to you here on the internet. I could make a whole other video on all of the ideas, the crazy ones, the good ones, and the bad ones that I had to get rich and not work. But I'm going to just skip past all those. We'll save those for another video. And I'm going to skip to my basic premise of what I was working towards, and my ultimate goal was to get $1 million. Not $1 million of net worth. I knew that was going to be too difficult. So I started out with this lofty goal of having $1 million worth of stuff, of assets. It didn't matter how much debt was on these assets. I figured once I got $1 million worth of stuff, that was step one. Then I could work on getting higher net worth and paying down debt and getting more equity and all those things. But I figured you have to just start buying shit to just get into the game. So let me just set the stage for you. It's the early 2000s. I had started a mortgage company in 1998. And so I started buying real estate around probably 2003, 2004, something like that. And the first thing I bought was a duplex, and I lived in one half of it, and I rented out the basement. And, that was my first. I bought it with, I think, 100% financing. I got into there with no equity. And that was my first real estate acquisition that I made. This is when I lived in Montana. You'll also remember that in the early 2000s, real estate was hot. People were getting stuff under contract and then selling it before they even closed on it and making money in equity just based on how fast properties were appreciating. So it was just like you couldn't lose money. And since I owned the mortgage company and money was just growing on trees back in those days, and you could get money anywhere. And since I had the cookie jar, it was easy to put my hand in there and pull out some money and buy another house. So by the time I was 32, bing, bang, boom, I did it. I had reached this lofty goal of having $1 million worth of assets, if you want to call them that. At the time, they were assets. I had a $1.2 million of debt on my credit report, and they were probably worth something like $1.5 million. And I thought I was just on cloud nine. I was crushing my goals. I was making things happen. Except we all know what happened in 2008. The market crashed. My 1.5 was now worth like 800, 900,000, but I still had that 1.2 of debt hanging out there. I had the mortgage company that was supposed to be paying the bills for all this debt. But as we all know, when the market crashed, nobody was buying houses, nobody was getting mortgages, and my whole house of cards just came tumbling down. and I lost everything. This, my friends, is what we call an ego check back to zero. So see, if I had gone a little bit slower and taken the slower path instead of trying to rush ahead, what I did was what really did me in was I had 250 grand I'd saved up, and I put it into a flip house, and I was going to flip that house. I bought the flip house in like 2007, did 100% financing on a flip house with the first and the second mortgage. It was like close to a $500,000 house. And then I sunk my 250 into the remodel of that house. But before I was done with the remodel, the real estate market had just literally gone from here to here, tanked. The house sat on the market, couldn't sell it, ended up getting foreclosed on it, lost my 250, and then my other houses were all foreclosed on, to the point where the sheriff literally came, knocked on my door, and said, "You got to get out, bro, get out." And then I was basically homeless and penniless. Now, what's the lesson from this tale of woe? The lesson is, if I would have been smart, instead of being the hare, and I would have been the tortoise, and I would have took that 250 and sunk it into something super boring, like a fourplex that just paid me some money every month, rolling in, paying down the mortgage. And then I could have saved up to do it again and just buy safe, slow investments that built up over time. I wouldn't have lost it. It wouldn't matter when the real estate prices tanked, because I would have had renters in there covering my mortgage. Even if I had a fourplex that I paid $800,000 for that was worth $600,000, it wouldn't matter as long as my rents were covering my mortgages. And that's the lesson that I learned, having no equity and having no one in these houses paying rent, like in duplex or in flip houses, where you're just trying to double your money and the bright shiny thing, and you're 20 or 30 years old and you're trying to do it fast, and you're trying to hustle and do the hustle grind culture and make big risk, big reward. That's where you run into problems. That, my friends, is why they say the house always wins. When you're gambling, the house always wins. These are gambles. It's not investing. If you're buying Bitcoin, that's a speculative gamble that's going to hopefully go up over time. It's big risk, big reward. And you got a lot of chance to go to zero. I have friends that were going to get rich on Dogecoin and Bitcoin and Gamecoin and all these coins. And they were like up to $1 million. They put in 50,000, 100,000. They're up to $1 million. But they couldn't pull the lever and cash out because it was going to go to 2 million or to 10 million or to 50 million. And now they're back down where they started, waiting again for that big risk, big reward. Look, retiring early, that is the shiny big prize. It doesn't have to happen in a week or a month or by the time you're 20 or by the time you're 30. Slow and safe gets you there, and taking your time and building wealth and building equity is the key to it. Not just trying to get the sexy thing that's over here that's going to make you retire at 35, and then you can start a YouTube channel and tell everybody how smart you are because you did it before everybody else. Because it's not a race. The whole reason that it's sexy and people want to do it and they sell the books and the courses is because it's hard. And everybody that tells you that it's easy, and if you just buy my course or you buy my book or you get my one-on-one consultations, they're full of shit. It's hard, and that's what the appeal is to it. If it was easy, everybody could do it, and there wouldn't be retiring early. There would just be idiots who are retiring late. Please, if you remember anything, remember this part of the lesson, that anytime somebody tells you that it's easy and they want to sell you something to show you how easy it is, no, it's not easy. It's hard, and that's why it's a goal for people. And that's why not everyone can do it. If everybody could do it, you wouldn't want to do it anymore. There'd be something else harder that you would want to do because everybody had already done that thing. So just remember that if somebody tells you it's easy and you just buy this course, like, just scroll past that. There's a big difference between being easy and being simple. It might be simple. The way I retired early is simple, but it was not easy. It was hard. And that's why I make a YouTube channel about this, to try to help people do it. But I tell you what, I'm going to give you guys the whole premise of my YouTube channel in like 5 seconds. Buy one house every year until you have enough money that you don't have to work and you can have financial independence, or retire early, or do whatever you want. That's it. That's the whole premise of my channel. Like, I gave you the whole secret sauce right there. You can unsubscribe and get off of YouTube and go out there and just do it. And then you're done. You don't have to watch any more of these videos. But it's not that easy. That's why you probably need to stick around. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I know in the analytics, I see you guys. A lot of you guys who watch these videos on my channel haven't subscribed. So please consider hitting that subscribe button if you want a little bit more guidance on how to do this, or just on how to retire in general. So if you're going to stick around, I've got way more nuggets of wisdom and stories of how I screwed it up so bad that I had to start over and all the mistakes I made along the way, just so that you don't have to make those mistakes. So if you're going to stick around with me, let's talk about the next point, is that trying to retire too early, it's just too much undue pressure on you. It just like makes you feel like that you got to hustle and you got to grind and it's too difficult, and it weighs down on you. Here's another tale of woe from my personal life. The only birthday, I just turned 50, by the way, and the only birthday that sort of psychologically had an effect on me was when I turned 28. Because when I turned 28, I could see into the future, and I could see that there was no way I was going to have my pile of $1 million worth of crap in the next 2 years. I could just tell I wasn't going to get there in time. And I started to think, oh, I'm never going to make it by 30. I'm a failure. What am I doing? What have I done wrong? More pressure makes you feel worse and worse. It just pushes down on you. But you don't need that pressure. This whole hustle culture of work, and work 100 hours a week and grind it out and grind, it's just not worth it, because A, you could go broke. Take it from me. You might have to start over again, or it might just take longer than you thought. And if that's the case, if you think you're going to retire by 35 and it takes you till 45, or you think you're going to retire at 40 and it takes you till 50, well, there's another 10 years in there, and you can't just grind 100 hours a week for 20 years. Have you ever heard expressions like stop and smell the roses, or enjoy the ride, or my favorite one, the journey is the destination? You got to have fun on the path to get to where you're going. If you just keep your head down and just go, and all of a sudden it takes an extra 5 or 10 years, you're going to regret all that time you wasted that you could have been working towards your goals, but also enjoying life and traveling and spending a little bit of the money that you're making along the way, but doing it in a smart way, not to impede your retire early goals, whatever they might be. I can tell you another tale of woe from my personal life is I did that for way too long. I hustled and grinded because since I had to go broke once, I had to start over. So I basically had to do this twice. So I have a lot of years of hustling and grinding and not taking those vacations and working too hard. And now that I don't have to work so hard, and there's days I don't have shit to do, and I just can't slow down. If somebody stops me in the street and wants to chit chat, I can't hardly listen because my brain is just thinking, there's probably something better I could be doing. I need to be over there. I need to do this. I need to do that. Even if I don't have anything to do, my brain just has certain things it just can't handle because I just feel like I got to go get something done. And that is a side effect of working too hard for way too long and just ingraining it into my own brain. Okay, and the last reason that you shouldn't try to retire too early or too fast is basically because when you're 20 or 30, you don't have a clue what your life is going to look like when you're 50. Whatever you think you want to do in retirement when you're younger is going to change when you're older. It's a moving target. However much money you think you're going to need more or maybe less. I don't know. Maybe you have too lofty of goals, but all these targets are moving targets. They're good places to have as goals. And then as you get older, your goals kind of can focus in, but you got to be willing to adapt and adjust and know that what you want at 25 isn't going to be the same as what you want at 35. And what you want at 35 is not the same as what you want at 50, because as a person who just turned 50, where I see my life going now is a lot different from where I thought it was going to be at 25. That's for sure. One of the scariest things I see in the FIRE movement is all of the new and alternative ways to fire that there are. The barista fire, the lean fire that I don't have enough freaking money to fire, the fire that I'm almost to fire and I'm not quite to fire, but I still want to identify with the FIRE movement. There's really should only be one kind of fire, and that should be fat fire, because that's $100,000 of income, and there's not a lot of places you could live in this United States on less than $100,000 of income as a married couple or as two people. Maybe if you're a single person, you could live on something a little bit less. And you need a little bit of buffer in there. So all these people who are in lean fire or barista fire, and they think like, I'm 25 years old and I can live on $25,000 a year. So I just need to get enough income to where I live on $25,000 a year for the rest of my life, and then I'll be set. That's such a horrible idea. Like, I'm 50, and if I had to live on $25,000 a year, I would be living a horrible, miserable existence of life. My property taxes, my health insurance, and my homeowner's insurance on this house is $23,000. That's before I have a mortgage, before I put food in my mouth, before I buy a bottle of wine. Just to own this house and have health insurance cost me about $23,000 a year. So if you want to have a house and live not under a bridge, you're not going to live on $25,000 a year as you get a little bit older in life. That, my friends, is why I invented my own FIRE movement. It's called Financial Independence Recreational Employment, because the whole goal of this thing should be to reach the financial independence. Once you have the financial independence, you can work, you can retire, you can have a YouTube channel, you can start a blog, you can start a business, you can be a volunteer, you can travel the world, you can live under a bridge, you can do whatever you want as long as you have the financial independence. And this needs to be the only goal that you work towards. All the people who are younger, working towards this retire early thing, that think they're going to retire in their 30s or their 40s, and they're listening to all these internet gurus, the YouTube gurus, I say that with a cringy face, and they're listening to the 4% rule because that is like Mecca. That is the golden rule of early retirement is the 4% rule. And I think they're all trying to think that they can live on less than they can. They don't know exactly how the 4% rule works, that was made for a 30-year retirement. It had 20% of your investments in bonds. And like nobody talks about those things with the 4% rule. So there's a lot of these one size fits all, retire with this much money, use this formula. It's going to get a lot of people into trouble. One of the things I talk most about on this channel is that, you have to know what you want your life to look like in retirement. And then you have to know how much that life costs. And then once you know how much that life costs, then you know how much money you need or how much income. It's not about how much money you have. It's about how much income that money produces, or how much income your real estate produces, or how much income your side hustles produce, or how much income, your passive income from your book or your royalties or whatever. It's all about the income. You don't live off of your savings. You don't just put $3 million in a savings account and draw it down to zero with no interest or at 2% interest. You have to have income coming in, and you have to develop ways to get the income to fund the lifestyle that you want in retirement. And you got to know what that life looks like so you know how much it costs. Everybody just thinks they're going to live on the 4% rule and move to a Caribbean island. Guess what, guys? I already did that. I retired at 45 and I moved to the United States Virgin Islands. I lived in St. Thomas, the most beautiful island you've ever seen. And it didn't take long before I got a little bit bored. And that's where this YouTube channel was born. And that's where my other YouTube channel was born. I have another YouTube channel all about beach stuff. I do beach reviews. People send me free beach gear, and I sit on the beach and I do videos about different beaches. And I started both of those channels because I got bored. When I was living on my beautiful Caribbean island, I'd wake up every day and I had two choices. Go to the beach or don't go to the beach. And that got kind of old, not to mention how freaking expensive it was to live there. So I realized I was going through my cash maybe a little bit too fast, and I wasn't quite getting what I wanted for my money. And so I left, and now I'm back in beautiful Florida. But you see, that was my dream for a long time, ever since I was in my 20s. Another one of those stupid dreams. But I didn't know until I had to live it. Some of your dreams, you have to just live them to see if they're right or not. But I dreamt of retiring and living on a Caribbean island and drinking painkillers all day long. That's one of the drinks they like down there. It's just, again, your goals you have when you're younger are going to change when you get old. So I made an adjustment on that Caribbean dream. And I bought a house on the island right next door, which is a lot less expensive. I bought a house in Puerto Rico, so I could go down there a couple times a year. I rent out that house some and make some money. I still get to go have my Caribbean dream, but at a much more affordable price. I told you, all these targets are moving. Goals are ideas. They're not set in stone. So you got to be able to make adjustments and get the life that you want, and it changes as you go. All right, I think you get the idea. If you liked the stories about how I went broke and you want to learn more about me and how I got to where I am now, go watch this video over here. And if you don't care that much about me, or you've already seen that video and you want to learn more about maybe how your parents might have gave you some bad advice and see if you have bad money ideas that were ingrained into your head, well, then go watch this video over here. And if you want to hear about leaving the great old US of A and trying to move somewhere a little bit cheaper, where you can have a high quality of life at a lower cost, then stick around, because I don't know if you can see it. My bag is packed right there. I'm leaving in 4 days to go to another country, which I haven't revealed yet, to go investigate what it costs to live there, look at some different areas, and see if it might be somewhere that I might want to move to save some money. So stick around, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't, and we'll see you in the next video.